Good evening and welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly conference call. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist, and more information on the COVID-19 virus. I'm going to entitle this call, Is COVID-19 an Exosome? So I'm going to explain what I mean by that and go into some more information about viruses and how they work and what we need to do. So I recently saw a presentation by Dr. Andrew Kaufman. He's an MD, so he's a medical doctor, and he's breaking tradition, and he's the lone voice in offering an alternative theory as to what's going on. I'm not sure if I agree with it completely, and it's just something to think about, but I wanted to put it out there in this conference call. So is COVID-19 an exosome? Well, first you have to figure out, well, what's an exosome? Most people don't know what exosomes are. Exosomes are fat vesicles or fat holders, and they're secreted by cells in our body. So they're fat vesicles, boats, containers, however you think of a vesicle, and secreted by our cells. Now, what they do is they allow our cells to get rid of garbage and toxins, pathogens, anything that the cell doesn't need. These exosomes also communicate with other cells, so that's a biochemical communication network. Most people know about exosomes because they're essentially the next generation to heal people from either various injuries or age reversal and things like that. So what was considered pretty cutting edge was something called stem cells and stem cell treatment. Most of you have heard of stem cells. And stem cells are derived in various ways, and sometimes even from baby fetuses. But they can also be derived from our own body. And they've been used to heal parts of people's bodies, like their shoulder injury or some other injury or knee injury, even burn victims. And the next generation that's considered better than using stem cells is exosomes. Well, it turns out these exosomes look pretty similar to a virus. And probably the reason is that exosomes are what happens when a viral infected cell will then get rid of exosomes. Well, that's because the exosome will essentially have the virus in it or attached to it or part of it. So viral infected cells get rid of exosomes. So before this doctor was able to really explain his theory or hypothesis of what's going on out there, the person interviewing him kept cutting him off. And then he would ask him a different question, so he would have to answer the new question. He never quite answered the first question. So I'm trying to fill in the gaps based on what we were able to hear. If it wasn't for the person interviewing him, we would have gotten all the information. So this Dr. Kaufman thinks that the COVID-19 isn't really the problem. It's actually the exosome that the cells are secreting that mimic a virus, look like a virus, have a virus attached to it, and that's why we think it's a virus, but it's actually the people that test for COVID-19. Again, it sounds like his hypothesis. They're actually looking at an exosome. They're not even looking at a virus. And this opens up a whole bunch of questions. And I will say up front, I do not know what's really going on here. Every week I try to learn more new information scientifically, what's going on, and perhaps link that to what's going on socially and politically, and I do not have a good answer. But when I was listening to Dr. Kaufman, it opened up a whole new thought process. If you go back to something we've all heard about now, the Spanish flu, if you hadn't heard about it, you know about it now, because what we're going through now keeps getting compared to the Spanish flu back in 1918, and millions of people died. This so-called virus, we're looking at a much, much lower death rate, and of course the population is much larger than 1918. And that is one of the disconnects, is why we're doing these draconian measures for something with a really low mortality or death rate when you look at all the people that could have COVID-19, coronavirus, exosome, whatever you want to call it. So back in 1918, they were trying to figure out how people were really catching Spanish flu. And everyone thought, well, it's just by being close to someone. And so there were 3 different tests done. And this is shocking, absolutely shocking. They couldn't get anyone to transfer the Spanish flu to anyone else. They had a group of people that were breathing on each other. 0% got infected. They took blood from one group and put it in another group, thinking direct serum injection. Again, 0%. I mean, not even 1, 10, 50%, 0%. Nobody caught the Spanish flu that way. They also did it through touch and mucus and transferring mucus. Nothing. No one caught it. It was as if it wasn't contagious at all. Yet people were told back then the Spanish flu spreading around the globe because people are close together. So there's this big mystery now. Well, how were people catching the Spanish flu? We were told it gets transmitted person to person, but there's no answer right now. The best theory out there is the Spanish flu kicked in right around the same time some new technology started, and this new technology was electrical transmission lines, meaning the electricity age. Now that makes you think, is that what's going on here today? Have no idea. There's been people that have linked what we're going through now, COVID-19, coronavirus, exosome, to the introduction of 5G, which is vastly different than 3G and 4G. And this is a type of electromagnetic radiation. We're always told these forms of electromagnetic radiation are not dangerous, and maybe they're not. Again, there's not a lot of data. When people linked 5G transmission lines, 5G towers starting around the world, that's when this coronavirus started. But the people that said that were immediately debunked, and then you wonder, well, why were they debunked? Why didn't anyone look into that? So again, I don't know. But Dr. Kaufman thinks that back during the Spanish flu, it really wasn't a virus because there was no way for it to transmit. You couldn't even get people to transmit it. So, but it asks a lot of questions. Then what was wrong with these people? I mean, they had flu-like symptoms, just like we have today. So perhaps he doesn't have the answers either, but he's throwing out the theory this actually isn't a virus. It's something else. And that's where I'm going to leave that. And I don't know. I don't have the answers. A couple of other scientific pieces of information that just seems to get lost in the news. So I mentioned this earlier. You have to think about the size of this so-called coronavirus, COVID-19. The size is 500 nanometers. So that may not mean much to you. I mentioned earlier that I can see that size particle under the microscope. Normally you can't see viruses unless you use an electron microscope, but it's still quite small in the microscope, and I can't even pick up any detail that way. The holes in the masks that people use, the best masks out there, those holes are about 10 times bigger than the virus. They're around 4,000 to 5,000 nanometers. So the virus is supposed to be 500 nanometers, or at least what we're looking at is 500 nanometers, and the holes in the mask are 9 to 10 times that size. So that'd be like this was used in this video, an analogy, that'd be like a 6-foot man trying to get through a 60-foot door. It's not going to be a problem. He's not going to hit his head. And this is why there's a lot of conflicting views on masks. So you will have CDC, Center for Disease Control, say you're supposed to wear a mask, and then some doctor says, no, it doesn't matter. I'm sure you've heard it's good to wear a mask if you're sick, but it's not really going to protect you from getting sick. Now, I thought that was a good one. How is that possible? Well, the reason you're hearing all these different viewpoints is the people saying this know that the masks do not prevent the COVID-19 from passing through. Now, is it a good idea to wear a mask? Yes. Is it going to protect you from a bacteria, meaning not a virus, but bacteria? Yes, and that's what they're designed for. Will it protect you from particles that may have a virus on them, and then the whole particle can't get through? Yes, because that would be something bigger than 500 nanometers. But I just wanted to tell everyone that's why you're getting a lot of conflicting information on masks, and I don't think the news wants people to know all the details because then people won't wear masks, and they want them to wear masks. So instead of telling people the way I'm saying it's still going to protect you from other bacteria and other particles that could have a virus on it, they're just not going to tell you that the holes in the mask are about 9 to 10 times bigger than the virus itself. So that was the other bit of information I wanted to tell everyone. And that's all I have for the audio portion. There'll be a newsletter coming out within a day explaining more about how enzymes work and viruses work. So there's a link between viruses and enzymes, and I'll be mentioning that in the newsletter. So I'm going to go to standard mode here instead of lecture mode. If you have any questions, this would be the perfect time to ask them.
Yes, Dr. Brewer. If
Yes.
I want to listen to the recording of this talk tonight, what number would it be?
So it is similar to the call-in number. There's just one digit different, and I'm going to see if I can pull that up.
I have that number, but then
oh, the code. You need to know the number. Today will be number 32.
32. Okay.
And last week was number 31.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I also have a question. A lot of things you buy in the store, in the ingredients, it says they have natural flavor. What is that? What is that natural flavor? It can't be anything good for you, do you think? Well,
that is a really good question. That's like serving me up a softball. Thank you. So natural is a meaningless word in our food system.
Right.
The word organic is very powerful. So organic means no pesticides, no herbicides, and so it's not a chemically treated product. But the word natural, absolutely meaningless. So it could be completely artificial and called natural. There's no guidance for the word natural. There are people that would like to have some sort of a criteria placed on the word natural and have a set of rules for the word natural. In fact, I was even involved with a guy that was trying to do that, but it never materialized. So the word natural is a loophole for food manufacturers to get people to think they're buying something healthy. It's similar to when you buy bread, they'll use the word multigrain instead of whole grain. Multigrain only means there's more than one grain. They could all be bleached. They could all be enriched, different types of enriched grains. It just means there's more than one. So people will look at a bread that's labeled multigrain and think, well, this is better than this other bread that does not say multigrain. But the words you're really looking for is whole grain. So that means whole grain means you're getting the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, all three parts of a grain. Mm-hmm. Most bread only uses the endosperm, which is the part that is sweet, it tastes good, it's mainly carbohydrates, very, very low in protein. So natural ingredients, that's just a way food manufacturers get away with artificial ingredients. There'll be something in the ingredient that had some component that was so-called natural, and then that still doesn't mean anything. Natural is supposed to mean it isn't synthetic. It's supposed to mean it would be something from a fruit or a plant that's just extracted from it. But that's not how it is. That really isn't. It should be. Natural should just be an extract from a fruit or a plant, something pulled out of a fruit or a plant and then separated. So some chemical pulled out from a fruit or a plant. But it isn't that way.
Okay, I just wondered, why when you buy blueberry muffins, it has flour and sugar and blueberries, why can't that be your natural flavor? Why do they have to add natural flavor? Isn't it like MSG or something?
Yes.
So MSG is a flavor enhancer. It stands for monosodium glutamate. And the sodium in there makes it real salty, and that's why people have allergies to it. But it's a flavor enhancer, way better than just salt itself. But, yeah, that's a way to get it in there.
Uh-huh.
That's one way. If a manufacturer may have trouble with real blueberries because of shelf life concerns, because it's fruit. It's not going to last forever. So they're going to have to preserve it or make it taste better than it normally does.
So natural flavor is just another word for preservative.
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted someone's opinion. Thank you.
Okay. And do we have any other questions? That was a real good question.
Dr. Brewer, could you talk about zinc and the effects it has or any side effects it might have?
Yeah, zinc's a very, very good mineral. I think I had mentioned previously how it's really one of the best minerals to fight off viruses. So it's the best trace mineral. I don't know the exact mechanism on how zinc works in the body. I just know it's considered the best trace mineral to increase the strength of our immune system. And it has many other functions in our body, but it's considered a trace mineral, meaning you don't need that much of it, you just don't want zero.
And is it in some of the products?
Yeah, it's in the vitamins. It's in that
the metabolic
Complete Vitamins Plus.
The complete.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's easy to look up foods that are high in zinc. I believe oysters are high in zinc, and there's many foods high in zinc. Many, various vegetables. The reason I tell people to eat a variety of vegetables is you end up getting all the vitamins and minerals you need when you eat a variety of foods, in this case, a variety of vegetables.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll end the call then and want everyone to stay healthy out there and keep your immune system strong. I keep talking about the immune system in the newsletter, so please pay attention to those and pass them on to anyone that doesn't know this information. And I'll be doing another call next week. So good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.